Greetings, everybody. Greetings, everybody. It's good to be back here. My name is Leo Nupolu Johnson, and I'm here today with the Liberian Dream with the brand new series we started 2 weeks ago. And we're looking at nonprofit leadership and community building. So we will be doing a quick recap of our last week here. Those of you who missed the last session, which was our first session, we'll be doing a quick recap as we go to our second session. Save all your questions. If you got your phones close to you, keep it to be able to chime in, to ask questions, to make contributions, to seek clarity as we continue to build. It's a different type of focus here. I mean, we're jiving with politics as examples a little bit, but we will focus more on community building. So let's get our slides rolling here. So last week, we talked about first thing first. If you all remember, we talked about developing strong leaders and communities. This is the whole purpose of the series that we're doing. And this is to help address some of the crises that are in our community. You go to different Liberian community associations, you see the crises that are going on there, right? You see the leadership crisis, the power, the challenge. We're fighting each other every day because people don't understand how these associations are supposed to be set up. People fighting everywhere over things that we shouldn't be. So these are the whole reasons for which we'll be doing this session. So we'll move to the next one here, Anthony. We'll move to the next slide. So time for a recap. Let's see what we talked about 2 weeks ago. So the first thing we talked about were our mission, vision, and values 2 weeks ago. We will run through it quickly. For those of you that were not here, you can go back from 2 weeks and watch the video. We will not spend too much time on it as we have new things to actually talk about and see where we've gotten it wrong with most of our community associations, to see where things are not working when it comes to how we should be building the Liberian diaspora, to see why we are following all of the wrong examples in Liberia. And even those of us who are here, when we go back to Liberia, the things we do tend to be worse than the people who actually are there. We can move on. So first thing first, very important, your mission, your vision, and your values as in a community association or non-for-profit, whatever you want to call yourself. Your mission, vision, and values are very important. These are the basis upon which your organization exists. Now, you will see most organizations don't even have them. And associations and organizations that have them, sometimes it's horribly wrong. So you see where everything goes wrong. When your mission, vision, and values don't exist, or you don't even know what they are, or they are not reflective of what you're doing, the rest of it is going to go wrong because some people will think they are there because of their brother who is the president. Some people think they're in an association because their best friend is the leader, or because they're then in power, or that because of certain things. So they are there focusing on the wrong things because you did not center your organization based on your mission, vision, and values. Everybody who is involved with the organization should agree on what these are, and they are agreeing to pursue them. If the mission of your organization is to feed hungry children, everybody joining that organization should agree that that is why we're here to pursue. So when you get vexed with the president because the president did something you don't like, you can't get out and say you must quit the organization should be dissolved. No, that's not the mission. You are not there because the president will make you happy. You didn't join the organization because you're satisfied with the president. You joined because of the mission, the vision, and the values. The organization activities should all support the mission and vision. You can say the vision or the mission of your organization is to feed hungry children, but every Saturday you only have party to drink and enjoy yourself. That the most important thing that you spend time doing is to drink and have parties to enjoy yourself, when your mission says you are supposed to be feeding hungry children, right? Let's also look at it this way. It should be clear, easy to understand, and compelling. Those organizations that seem to have mission and vision statement, when you read some of them, they are so confusing that sometimes you leave more confused as to what exactly does this organization do. Especially Liberian organizations, we will write entire paragraphs or entire essays. We want to save the world. We want to feed hungry children. We want to provide health care. We want to empower women. We want to empower seniors. We want to promote good governance. All these things, we just put all of them together and we say is our mission of as the organization. No, it should be clear. It should be easy to understand. It should be compelling, and it should be achievable. But let's go on. We will see more today. For example, your vision is what you want to achieve. How would this world be different because of your vision? What do you want to do? Your mission, like we said 2 weeks ago, what will you do to achieve that vision? So the big vision could be, we want to eliminate Zogos in the streets in Liberia within 20 years. That could be your vision. That's your big idea. Your mission will be, what are you doing every day or every year to achieve that vision is your mission. So for example, you can say every year we will build 20 rehabilitation centers to take 2,000 Zogos out of the street every year. And we believe by doing that, within 20 years, we'll be able to. You see how your vision connects with your mission? And your values are, how will you do it? For example, will you do it by providing Zogos counseling, by providing them healthcare, by providing them food, by providing them shelter? What are those values? Will you do it by ensuring you treat them just as you want to be treated as well, right? Those are your values. So let's go ahead. Quickly, I gave you an example. IKEA is a furniture store in Canada, a big, very big chain. It's actually from Switzerland, but they're in Canada as well. Their vision is to create a better everyday life for the many people. That's their vision. Create a better everyday life for the many people. So that's an ongoing vision. Their mission: offer a wide range of well-designed, functional home furnishing products at prices so low that as many people as possible will be able to afford them. Simple. Every day, they make sure that their furniture are well-designed, functional home furnishing products, but that the prices are so low every day that many people can be able to afford it, because their vision is to create a better everyday life for every people through this well-designed furniture. Let's move ahead, Anthony. Tesla, the new hottest car on the market that all of you people love. Tesla vision is simple: accelerate the world's transition to sustainable energy. Now, that's the big vision. Tesla said they want to accelerate making sure the world move from fossil fuels to sustainable energy, right? What's their mission? Create the most compelling car company of the 21st century by driving the world's transition to electric vehicles. The thing that use the most fossil fuels in our cars and vehicles that are using gasoline and all that stuff. So Tesla said they want to accelerate the world transition to sustainable energy. So what they would do, they target the thing that is the source of the most use of fossil fuel, right? They target cars. So they started to make the Teslas. Every day you see newer models of Teslas, and more people are beginning to be able to afford it. We can move ahead. Values. Let's look at values. I talked about values quickly last week, right? Whole Foods. You guys know the store. I don't know if you have it in the United States, but Whole Foods, their value, they will satisfy and delight their customers. That means their service has to be so good. The freshness of their products has to be so good that when customers walk in the store, they'll be like, wow. The engagement through customer service. They will promote their team member growth and happiness, which means the people who work for them, when they say promote them, sometimes means they will pay for their education, right? They will support their healthy well-being. They will provide them good pension plans or benefit plans or healthcare coverage, care about our communities, practice win-win partnerships, right? That's values. Let's see another type of what we call values. Wentworth Strategy Group, their values are practical: integrity, empathy, honesty, ambition. That means when you do business with this consulting firm, they are assuring you and guaranteeing you that there must be integrity, which means the things they say they will do are the things they will do, and they will describe it to you exactly how they will do it. They're saying they have empathy. Empathy means they will put themselves in your shoes. And what if this situation was their situation as they're working for you? Honesty means they will not put any funny thing in the fine prints. They will be very clear. Ambition means they will go for the best for their clients, which means that this organization has decided that every day as they do business, they will continue to ask themselves, did we meet these four things as we did business? Now, let's see today, we're switching to session 2. Let's see what we are going to focus on today for the rest of the time. Session 2. We're going to be looking at the first thing as the types of organizations. This is one of the most confusing things, especially in the Liberian community. Right? You see that I strike off the for business, right? For profit businesses. You all know that one. You get your business, you're making profit, you're not getting humanitarian. You want to sell, you want to make profit, you want to get rich, you want to make a lot of money. We all know what those are. So they can be sole proprietorship, they can be partnership, or they can be a corporation, right? Those are the type of for-profit businesses. But the main place I want to focus are non-for-profit businesses. The first type is called an unincorporated association. So those of you who say just because an organization is not registered means it's not legal, it's not true. An organization that is not registered can be an unincorporated association, which means that association has gotten together exclusively for the benefits of its members only, right? They don't need to register to be legal. However, when you're an unincorporated association, it means you cannot go out there to solicit the public funds. You can get money from your members, the people that are in there, because the things you're doing is exclusively for the benefit of your members. There are other types of unincorporated associations, but that is the most popular one that you'll find around. This other type is the registered nonprofit corporation. So there are two types of nonprofit corporations. Two types of registered nonprofits. The first one is the one that does not give charitable status. That means you're registered with the government to show that you are legal. You can solicit money from the public, your vision and mission, but you haven't gotten a level of tax exempt. They call it tax exempt. You need to get to a higher level to be tax exempt to issue tax receipts. So there are registered nonprofit corporations that cannot give tax receipts, but they're registered. And then there are registered organizations that can issue tax receipts. What that means is you've passed and been approved. In Canada, we call it the Canada Revenue Agency. In the US, you call it the IRS, the Internal Revenue Service. You have been approved by them that if somebody, the things you are doing, they are charitable and they support the charitable nature of the community. And if somebody donates money to you as that organization, you have the ability and the approval to issue them what we call a tax deductible receipt. Depending on the person's income, that means the person could get up to 65% of that money that they are donating to you. They could get it back when they go to do their taxes. Because the government is saying the work that you are doing further the interest, the economic growth of the country as a whole, of the community. The same thing that should have been using your tax dollars for as the government. So if you support that organization that they have approved, they will give you back some of your money so that you're not double paying it. So they're not collecting it from you again in taxes, since you are supporting the same things they would have been using your taxes to support. So when you hear people say tax receipts, when you hear big corporations donate $10 million to the organization and got a tax receipt, that means when they go to the government, let's say if they're supposed to pay $5 million in taxes, they might only pay $3 million in taxes, and the government will say $2 million of your taxes are waived as a result of the money you donated to charity, right? That's how it works. Let's look at the other one. Now, you can check the website of the Canada Revenue Agency, but in the US, you can check the IRS website and go to the session. They're very detailed on information about this stuff. If you don't know how to register a charitable organization, please don't do try and error, because a mistake in the processing or registration can lead to some major crimes later on down the road and can lead to big troubles that you don't anticipate. My advice to you would be, unless you are well experienced, find a knowledgeable accountant and lawyer willing to help. Mark the word down, knowledgeable. Not every accountant or every lawyer knows about this. So make sure you are finding a knowledgeable lawyer or a knowledgeable accountant who knows the processes before you end up in jail or before you end up doing some type of illegal business. Because when you are registering, the IRS might ask you a question. For example, are your activities exclusively charitable? You say yes. Do you really know what the IRS mean when they say your activities must be exclusively charitable? It doesn't mean just doing good. No, just doing good does not qualify as exclusively charitable. There's a legal definition and financial definition around what exclusively charitable meant or means. So please get a knowledgeable accountant or lawyer who should be able to help you if you are not experienced. If you're experienced doing this, then please, you can go ahead and do it for yourself. Let's move to the next slide. Now, this big thing in the Liberian community, I use the Liberian community as an example. People be telling you, say they own their own organization. If you are a registered nonprofit organization, no individual can own a registered nonprofit organization. No, nobody. Is owned by the public. The moment you register it, you are subject to the laws and legal frameworks, which means that now your business is owned by the public and the members are the custodians of the organization because it serves the public interest. So any association, organization you into this, somebody tell you say you own it, if it is a registered nonprofit, telling you lie. No individual owns the organization. You, the members, are the custodians of the organization, or you who the employees, or you the ED or the board members, you are all custodians of the organization. The general public, not just your community, the general public owns the association, and the general public is represented by the government. So if you're registered under the IRS in the US, you're called 501c3. If you are registered as a 501c3, you are a public entity. No individual owns it, because I've been to so many cases where Liberians are fighting over who owns the organization. It's owned by the public. So don't go be president. You won't be president for your lifetime because you feel you own it. Or because you own a board, you think you must remain on a board for your whole life, because by being on a board, that means you own it. No, you are only custodians of a public entity. The same way the president of the country does not own the country. No, doesn't. So let's get it straight. When anybody, some of these things, you need to be educated about it, because this is where the conflict keeps coming from in the Liberian community. The organization exists for a purpose that is not profit. Now, let's explain what this means, because a lot of people are confused about this also. When you are a non-profit organization and when you are registered, whether you're a community group, whatever you are not profit, which means the organization cannot make any profits for the exclusive benefits of the board of directors or for the officers or for the leaders. No. Now, however, that doesn't mean you cannot make profit. The organization can make profit. Just because they say you are not profit doesn't mean you are not allowed to make profit. But when you make profit, the profit is for the organization and not for individuals. That's the difference between a private for-profit entity, like a sole proprietorship or partnership or whatever, and a non-profit. In a for-profit business, when you make profit, the profit is for the shareholders or for the owner or for the proprietor or proprietress of the business or whoever owns it. Whenever a business make profit, or for-profit business make profit, the profit is for the owners. They choose whatever they want to do with their money. That's their business. But in a non-profit setting, when a non-profit organization makes profit, that profit must go back into the organization because it's owned by the organization. Don't all of a sudden say, because you made profit, now that means you can divide the money among yourself for the profit that you made. No, it's for the organization. So get it clear today. Non-profit people, stop being lazy. Stop saying when they get you money, you can't do anything. Start thinking about how you can turn that money around. If you're able to make profit, if you are allowed within the rules, make more profit for the organization because it is allowed. Now, nonprofit versus NGO versus charity, right? Now, you have to think about it this way. There are slight differences between these. Non-governmental organizations are set up exclusively to do non-governmental work. Mostly you'll find them as being international. Right? Nonprofit is the broader term that covers most of them. There are some non-governmental organizations that are nonprofit. Some of them are not nonprofit. So you get a term? Charity means within the Canadian context will be equivalent to what you call 501c3 in the US. You have a tax exempt status to issue people tax deductible receipts. Now, the board of directors is ultimately responsible for a nonprofit organization. If you are registered, the people who are legally liable and responsible are your board of directors. When trouble happens, they say they sue the organization, that then they sue. So you're who quick to jump on all kind of boards. Before you jump on a board, take your time, make sure you know what you're getting yourself into. Because when there are legal liabilities, the legal liability will be on the members of the board. Not even the man who call it or the woman who call themselves president or CEO or whatever. All of them can go home. You're the board members that y'all will be rounded up into court. So before you join, when you see what boards got so much power in associations or organizations, they give them so much power, that is why. Because their liability, they have the legal liability for the organization or for the association, as long as you're a registered nonprofit. Now, the organization must exist to achieve a mission. The thing what we can do, we just get together, we say, you know what, we just want to get together because of unity. You must define what that means. An organization cannot just exist for the sake of existing. A mission must be clear. And those of you who were here 2 weeks ago, I defined to you what a mission should be. If you say the mission of your organization is to support the education of Liberian children in the Liberian community, but the only thing you do all year that to have party, drink liquor, enjoy yourself, then that's a problem. And it can't just exist in an open fashion. No. It has to be clear what that mission of the organization is. So let's go down. Can have a charitable mentor, which means if there is another organization that you know that is existing, that have a long track record and well experienced in this thing, please don't allow yourself to make some bad mistakes. Go to them, ask them to be your charitable mentor. What that mentorship can give you means sometimes they can even help you get funding using their history and using their organization status to support you as well. So in fact, I will advise anybody who's trying to start a nonprofit organization to try your best if you are able to find a charitable mentor. And that mentor doesn't mean it can be an individual, but most of the time it is another organization that can mentor you. Let's look at governance. Governance is a big issue. Another serious source of conflict within Liberian communities and associations and organizations. Governance is about how is your organization run? Who does what? Who is responsible? We never clarify these things in Liberian associations. In fact, when you read some of our constitutions, they are more convoluted and complicated and confusing than what you should even think about. Most of them. The first question you must ask, how is this organization run? You must answer that question and define it. Is our organization run based on the membership authority status? Is it run based on decision-making processes from the board or from the leadership? Who does what? You hear people arguing, the president said they can fire the board. No, the board said they can fire the president. No, the board said that they don't want to take it on. The other person so who they're arguing because you did not clarify who is responsible for what. Now, let me give you the standard template. The standard template is the board has something to call fiduciary responsibility of the organization. I don't know if you know what that word fiduciary means. I've heard some Liberians mention it, but then when they start to explain it, it confuses you. You wonder whether they fully understand what fiduciary mean when you say the board has fiduciary responsibility of the organization. Now, fiduciary means involving trust. Fiduciary means involving trust, especially with regard to the relationship between a trustee and a beneficiary. That means the board is the one that has the trust of all of the stakeholders, the members, the funders, the government. When you were registering, they were the ones who signed on the paper and say, we are responsible. People involved may include, here are the people that I must say may, because different organizations can get different setups. Don't get me wrong. There is not only one setup, but that setup needs to be very clear as to what it is. Those involved can be your directors. Now, directors, I said, because it can be board of directors or board of advisors, right? I will explain to you what that means. Officers, committees, members, executive director, staff and volunteers, advisory board, supporters and friends, and even presidents. Now, your board of directors, their decision is binding on the organization because they have fiduciary responsibility. Your advisory board, a lot of people have asked me, what if we just get an advisory board? An advisory board is a board that is also there to advise the organization, but their decisions are not binding because they have no legal liability. So those of you who set up advisory board and later on, you say the board must make a decision and the president can follow, is because the president does not have to follow what an advisory board says. The president can tell the advisory board, say, no, when I agree with you, we'll do it differently. The advisory board job is to say, this is how we think it should be done in the best way possible. But the organization can reject it because they are not a board of directors. They are an advisory board. And then you need your bylaws, your procedures, and your activities. Most Liberian organizations only write bylaws and stop it right there. There are no procedures. There are no clearly defined activities. So every year are different things. Last year, they did barbecue, eat and just drink randomly. This year, they decided they would do nightclub party. Next year, they decided they would go on helicopter ride. The other year, they decided. So you constantly just wandering because you don't have a defined scope of activities. We'll stop here and take a quick break for about 1 minute or less, and we will be right back. Please put your questions in. Don't forget to type your questions or pick up the phones to call if you want to participate. The Liberian Learning Center is a dream to inspire. As a child growing up in Liberia, I never had the experience of what a library looks like. Still, as a young man, I had this burning desire that no child should be allowed to go to school without access to books and educational materials. And I set on a journey with a lot of people to make sure that this was going to be a different reality for children going to school in Liberia. When we spoke to Liberians many years ago, they made it very clear, we are not just looking for a building. We are looking for something that would change the face of our community in terms of growth, economics, and education. And one of the things we've done is with the Harnessing Opportunities to Promote Entrepreneurship Hope Development Program, where we've supported over 86 young Liberians, entrepreneurs, with training in financial literacy and small business development. And today I can tell you all 86 of them have successfully graduated and have received an investment of $400 each, in addition to other tools, so that they can turn their small commercial activities into self-employment and self-development.
There was a point that I was almost going down the drain, but Hope Training have lifted me up again and built me up as an entrepreneur.
Well, first of all, I think the Learning Center is actually going to be, hopefully in my mind, a model of hope and a model of possibility.
This Learning Center is built with love. It's built by the hands of Liberians for our Liberian children, our Liberian youth. And that can work. Liberians can do it as well.
This is something that we know is going to provide answers for our young people, for our country. So I'm very, very excited that this is Liberia's home.
When we first went to the US Embassy, when we entered the place, there was a question asked to us. They said, are you in Liberia or America? So we said, we are in Liberia. And the guy said, no, we are in America. Once you are very enjoying it, you are in America. So when we went to the libraries, it was kind of amazing because for me, it was my first time seeing kind of library like that in Liberia. So if similar space like that is available outside of America, in Liberia, it will be very much good and welcome.
I had the greatest experience when I returned to Liberia to announce the groundbreaking of this drain. And 2 years after the groundbreaking, despite COVID-19, we are at a place today that the foundation is being completed, and in the next 12 to 18 months, with your help, we are excited to see this project to its completion.
I saw pictures of the groundbreaking. I visited the site 3 times already. I see rebar, steel rod protruding out of concrete. It lets me know that the cooking is going on. The meal will soon be ready.
We are already well on our way, and we want to thank our partners who have already committed financially and morally. The Rotary International, the Hamilton Public Library, Nikelum Seder Architects, and our host of many partners, including the Rotary Club of Monrovia in Liberia.
I can't begin to say the difference that this would make for students that will be able to access this facility, for teachers that will be able to walk in and do simple research, and that will improve their ability to deliver on their teaching materials, and that will enhance the learning of the students as well.
Having an open public space that is available and accessible is really quite groundbreaking. Although it shouldn't be, it really is. And so the continued success of that is vital. I don't think it's something that we can afford to think about passively. I think we definitely need to continue to engage, and that's really where the nuts and bolts of our partnership are going to have to keep grinding.
So far, you've supported us over 350,000 United States dollars raised. At this point, we are shy another 400,000 for the completion of the building. With your help, we are excited that this opportunity will unfold in the next 12 to 18 months as an opportunity to change the lives of over 300,000 people who will be direct beneficiaries of the Liberian Learning Center. All right, everyone. We are back. So we will be back as we're talking about governance, and I covered a slide for you quickly. Again, some of these terms you can take your time and actually research them and see for yourself, right? So we lay this out very clearly. We can move on to the next slide as we continue. The structure of your organization, extremely important. People constantly fighting for positions of authority in these associations and trying to make themselves look more powerful than the other is another problem, right? So you need to set your organization structure and clearly outline the positions as to who has what authority versus who has what authority, So important that everyone understands their role and how the organization is structured. You can't just be appointing people. Oh, we appoint you this, you this. Liberian associations, we can expand the appointment list. Our other Franca, we made new position for them. We appointed. Nobody even know what that position is responsible for. The Secretary General, who is a secretary doing another thing, something completely different. Nobody know what it's for. Mutual accountability. Just because you're the president, it means that you the one can order everybody around, hold everybody accountable, but they can hold you accountable too. So because you're the president, it means you might arrive to meetings late. So because you're the president, means you might not come to meetings. Because you're the president, means when you come to the party, they might bring a big table in front of you and bring all the fufu on you alone. They serve you alone with excellent service, and then they don't serve all the other people. No. Mutual accountability in leadership. The same way your members are accountable or the people who work under you are accountable, all of these positions should be accountable to each other. The janitor should be accountable to the president, and the president should be accountable to the janitor. The president should be accountable to the board, and the board should be accountable to the president. All through. It has nothing to do with you being an authority or not. Useful to create it visually. Create some kind of visual picture so people know what it is. People can see who up here, who down, who up, who down. Doesn't mean anybody is less important. It just means we are creating structure because that's the only way things can run. Consider what skills you need. Please don't go appoint somebody as Secretary General when the person do not know the meaning of meeting minutes before I say knows how to write one. I've gone to so many meetings. The president as Secretary General has zero writing ability. Before I say reading ability, when I'm the person who's supposed to be the custodians of the organization. Consider the skill sets you need before you start to appoint people or elect people to positions. The same thing we're having in Liberia today. We elect people to all of the technical positions then that the people have no experience. Your legislature is an example. You elect all kinds of people that promise you they will build roads, they will build schools, they will change this, they will change that. None of them can explain to you how we can rectify our Liberian constitution and legal implications so that we leave the corrupt system of governance that we are into a better one. So because of that, when you bring the people go bring school buses, they put their picture and their name on it. They bring ambulances, put their picture and their name on it. They build you a hand pump with rusted iron and tell you, say, it's a modern hand pump. As lawmakers, because they forget that their actual role is supposed to be lawmaking and strengthening the country's governance system through that process. But that's what you give them. At the same time, consider how you will engage everyone who wants to participate. Just because you're the president, that doesn't mean nobody else is supposed to have access to you or so because you're the president, only the BB people. No, think about how you want people to engage those various leaderships. Then in the organization, start to direct people through those pipelines. For example, somebody should know that if I want a meeting minutes, I should not be causing the president. I should go to the secretary. If I want a financial report, I should not go be causing the president. I can ask the president, but the president said needs to know where to direct that effort. The secretary needs to know where to direct me if I'm not in the right place, right? Rather than everybody trying to do everything. So let's look at the sample organization chart here quickly. This is just one chart I'm showing you. There are many, many, many more of them that you can actually find. We got this one is an example. You got your board. On the board, you got a director, a vice chair, a chair, a treasurer, and a secretary. They are all directors as well, but the whole leadership position on the board. Right under there, you have the executive director or the president, and that's the chain of reporting. So the executive director of the president is the one that's accountable for reporting to the board. Under the executive director or president, you got operations manager, volunteer manager, finance manager. So those people also are accountable to report to the executive director or the president. And then under there, you get event coordinator, volunteer coordinator, bookkeeper. They report to the people immediately above them. So you see how the relationship works. Everybody knows where to go or who to go to ask questions. We can move to the next one. Is that my last one? Last slide? Yeah, let's move to the next.
That's the last one.
All right, thank you so much. So this is where we stop today because I want to leave some time for opening the phone lines for calls. And by the way, if you have questions, it doesn't have to be about what I talk about today. It can be about other things. So Anthony, I don't want to go to the comments first or the calls, whichever one.
Yep, let's do the comments first. This one from, right. You can read it, Dio.
Oh, okay. My brother Angasi Dwalu, good to see you. He says the Liberian dream must be birthed and developed. ULCLCY. That's my brother Daniel Henderson. Thank you for joining. He says we are watching and listening. Akon B. Teresa, good evening, brother. Good evening, Akon. Thank you for joining us. Leo King said, wow. Leo King, I don't know what the wow is about. Maybe give us a little more insight, but hopefully that's a wow for good things. Lydia G. Kennedy says, wow, also. Anyway, thank you all for joining us. Lorma Governor Boda says, Can someone serve as CEO for a nonprofit organization? So here is the thing. The term CEO has been traditionally associated with the private for-profit sector, right? And it means Chief Executive Officer. Okay? So the answer is yes. But that is not a term that has been that has been used a lot in the nonprofit sector. It's always been in the for-profit sector, but it just means Chief Executive Officer. So the equivalent of it in the nonprofit sector would be President, Executive Director. So yes, someone can be a CEO for a nonprofit sector if the organization decides that is how they want to. That's a terminology that makes sense for their operations. My brother Bio Broples says, preach, Leo. Thank you, my brother Bio. Thanks for joining as well, Bio. Thomas Wilson say, Reverend Thomas Wilson say, insightful. Thanks for sharing, brother Leo. Thank you, Reverend. Thank you for joining. Really appreciate you supporting him.
Okay, that would do it for comments. You can announce the number on the screen for them.
So the number to call 605-313-6004. The code will be 791403. The number sign and then hash, right? You call it hash or number sign, whichever one you call it. So for those of you who want to contribute and you want to call, please pick up the phone and call. And like I said, ask any question about nonprofit organizations. It does not have to be only about what I've presented, because there are a lot of other things still involved. So I've done a scan of a lot of Liberian organizations' website. Either there's no vision, mission, values, doesn't exist. So nobody really knows you're trying to dig, or it is very vague, confusing, and not clear, including some of our big organizations as well. I've done most of the Fulao, EULA, most of them don't have it. And this is not a criticism. This is showing something that we need to work on to get better at, and the way that we need to actually do it. We cannot continue to ignore it. That is the reason why we keep having all of the conflicts. That's the reason why we don't know who's supposed to report what. That is the reason why if there is not a request for the financial report, it can never come, when there is supposed to be a process as to how that happens.
Leo, and I have a question. I know I'm in the back, but this is so interesting, and folks are holding back from asking question. My question is, what are some of the reasons why it has been so difficult for us as Liberian organizations to raise significant money for the things we want to do? What is responsible for that?
That's a very important question, Anthony. And I would say it's because all of the things we need to put in place are not in place. Mm-hmm. To raise money, it's not just telling people something exciting, because I see people come out, oh, we want fee hungry chair, you can support us. No, number one, people need to ensure that you have the setup and the infrastructure as an organization to properly manage their money. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's not because the doubt that you will spend the money on what you say you will, but they're asking, do you even realize if you are capable of properly managing their money, and what that means, managing their money? Well, if someone donates $20,000 to you, do you have the right infrastructure to make sure it goes to the right bank account? Do you have the right infrastructure to make sure that money is moved from that bank account and spent in the right way with all of the right mechanisms to track it? Do you have the infrastructure to do the proper accounting that is required to be able to do the report? Do you have the right infrastructure to do what you need to do if somebody managed to steal the money, or somebody did something funny? Are you capable of even realizing if somebody used the money inappropriately? Do you have the setup to actually do that? They also want to know, do they believe that the thing you say you will do, are you capable of doing it? Many of you will come up and say you want to build a multi-million-dollar community center, right? But your whole organization exists and your budget has never passed $5,000 before. Why would a millionaire trust you to give you $500,000 in donation when you've never managed more than $5,000, right? So the question that Anthony asks is, fundraising is the result of quality setup of your organization, clarity in your mission and vision, demonstration of competence that you can do the work, and proper governance setup from your board. People who give you big money, when you go to them to ask them, the first thing they ask you for, can I see who's on your board? How is your board set up? Can I see your financial management? Can you send me the last 3 years of your financials so I can take a look at it? What is your vision and mission? Can you please go in low depth? Have you ever done something like this before? Sometimes they ask for up to 10 years. In my case, they ask for up to 6 years of audited financials. That is why people give organizations big money. And you see at the Liberian community level, Anthony, when we say that collect $10 to do something, everybody pay their $10. A plow come from them when the team finish. Say we pay our $10 the last time, nobody not tell what thing happened with it, what play go, what play not go. Sometimes nobody stole the money, but just because the organization was not set up to properly manage it, they are unable to account for it properly.
Earlier, Leo, you talk about, and correct me with the word, your organization mentorship, that as an organization, maybe you are new in the area of nonprofit, you must look for, another organization that has been doing it and let them become your mentor. I want you to talk about that more. Why is that important, and what specifically should you be looking for from the get-go?
That is so important, because when you're starting a nonprofit, I will tell you today, it's extremely difficult. Most of the people who start nonprofits sometimes don't have the resources. Sometimes they're not even qualified or competent. In my case, I started a nonprofit. I knew nothing about the term executive director. I didn't even know how to define it properly when I started. So that means you will make all of the horrible mistakes. It's like, Anthony, you had a vision, right? Somebody show up and say, I gave you a birthday gift. It's a BMW X6. And you're excited. But Anthony, you don't have a driver's license. You never driven before. You don't know how to drive. The first thing that should come to your mind is say, who do I know that can drive to? Please teach me how to drive. You don't just get in the car and say, I'm a BMW. You know, not your business. I would read a thing about how to drive a BMW. I would just drive. I will go Google online and read everything. I'll get in the car and actually drive it. It's the same thing. When you start a nonprofit, most of the time, no one person has all the expertise that is required for an organization to be set up. You need multiple set of expertise. You might be good at financials, but you're not good at the leadership or the governance setup. So having a mentor will help you, because a nonprofit organization that is existing and successful have already gone through all of that. They have their financial setup, they have the governance setup, they have all of the mistakes they have made. They can help you avoid those mistakes. So you are better set up to succeed by having an organization mentor who can right away tell you, here are all of the things you will need in place, rather than saying, I will go read and Google, or I was working before to the capital bidding, so I got experience in leadership, so I will go set this thing up.
We have a question here from Loma. The question is, can you set up an organization with zero account?
Yes, you can set up an organization with zero account, but you can commit to doing anything until you can show how you will raise the resources to actually do it. So let me put it this way. Just because you don't have money to go open an account does not mean you can't open an account, because sometimes the account needs to be open before money go inside, before you raise money to put it inside. But here's what you need to do. If you say you want to feed 20 children who are hungry, the first thing you need to do, you need to cost it out. How much does it cost to feed 20 children? That means you got to go do the market research. Let's say it costs you $5,000, right? Then you must answer the question to your membership. How can you guarantee that you are capable of breaking in that revenue of $5,000 to feed hungry children? Then you must ask yourself, what is the cost of implementing the project? Who do we need to pay? Who will pay for the gas, for the transportation? Who will pay for all the phone calls that we actually need to do? So yes, you can set up an organization with a zero account, with zero money in the account. But that account should be for the sole purpose of beginning to generate the revenues that are required to ensure that the organization has the resources to carry out its mission. If you're an organization and your account been zero for 1 year, you must stop, because you already lied to people. The vision and mission you wrote on your website and say you will accomplish, you haven't been able to demonstrate that you are on your way to accomplish that mission.
My final question, can you start an organization and seek for volunteers and run that organization for a particular length of time?
Yes, you can. But I can tell you it's not a sustainable strategy. You cannot run an organization entirely on volunteers for its entire existence, with the exception of cultural community groups. So, for example, the Konobo Association, right? Or the Lo-Fi Association, where they got together because they want to find a way for their members to socialize, the people from Lo-Fi. And yeah, you can run things like that on just volunteer stuff, right? Because it's one-off. They're one-off events and activities you're having. Beyond that, any other thing, you cannot run it on volunteerism. In fact, it should be illegal, because volunteers are only supposed to work up to a certain hour. If somebody working over 40 hours a week or 60 hours a week and you say they are volunteer, people don't just take it out legally with people, right? But you could be breaching employment laws, because you can have somebody working for 80 hours and you say they're actually volunteers. You could get sued by someone for it. If there's actually been lawsuits to actually show that. So please don't set up your organization and say you will get run on volunteers. Use volunteers from the beginning. That's how I did with Empowerment Square when we started. Anthony, it was all volunteers. But those volunteers gave us the basis in 3 to 5 years to move to the point where we started to hire staff. I was the first staff hire as the executive director, another staff, and today we are over 20 staff.
All right. My final question. You talk about skills that if you are a leader of an organization, be it nonprofit, whatever it is, you want to pick the right, skills, the people that will do the job. Is that one of those things that lacking in the Liberian community that's haunting on in terms of productivity and efficiency, especially in the area of fundraising and all that? Talk to me about that.
Absolutely. In fact, most of our leaders and people we put in position in our community is based on big mouth. And based on the fact that they used to hold one big position somewhere before. We don't require demonstration of competence, right? Look at the positions when Liberian associations, even elected positions, are having elections and stuff. There is zero clarity on what is the requirement of competence that you need to hold a position. You will see people run for secretary. When they finish running for secretary, they win. They're not able to write the meeting minutes. You will see somebody selected as the financial secretary or the treasurer of the community who does not know how to prepare financials or who does not even know how to read an income statement or a balance sheet, right? So, and we do it only because we don't want to offend people. Because we say when we do it, then we'll be preventing. No. You can't be running for a position without demonstrating competence. So we need to stop. You will see it with big organizations that where people get elected and they are completely incompetent, even up to the president. You need to have, just because they say you're running for president doesn't mean you need to have competence, for example, in managing people. Do you have any track record? Can you demonstrate to us that you have track record of managing people? You need to have competence in receiving reports and interpreting them. Can you demonstrate to us? Can you show us your educational background also to be able to actually do that? We don't do that in the Liberian community because we don't want to offend people and upset people because some of the old man and Papina will not qualify. Someone come from Liberia and tell you they were working at the Capitol building for 10 years. So all of a sudden we tell them we made them be person in the community because they were working at the Capitol building. Somebody come from Liberia and said they were deputy minister and administrator of education. So we assume that they can do this. Just because you're deputy minister of minister of education does not mean you are not the most incompetent deputy minister. Huh? You still need to demonstrate that your competence to us here for our purposes, for us to give you leadership. So in the Liberian community, we elect leaders, we select leaders, we appoint leaders, and then we get frustrated to say they're not doing their job when truth be told, they are unable to do the job we are asking them to actually do. Fundraising is another thing. We don't know how to fundraise. We live in a society where there's abundance of fundraising or resources to be gotten. But we go to people who are popular to go fundraise for us. Fundraising is a specific set of skills. It's not about who's popular. Or we go to people in the community who get money to make the fundraising person because the person get plenty of money. Or we go to events and we say we're having rallies, or we organize parties to raise money. Events don't raise money. Events are too expensive to put up. You need people with the expertise. Fundraising is very scientific. Dana, because the person know plenty of people, so let me in the fundraising chair. Or because the person can talk plenty. So we are only raising $2,000, $3,000 at a time when we say we need $40,000.
All right. Time. So that will do it for my question. Next time we meet again, I may have more questions.
Thank you so much, Anthony. And I will use this time to actually wrap up as well to say thank you all for joining. We will continue this series. I know if I come and put a post up here to say bombshell on President We Are, they play will be hidden in the room. We're not doing that anymore. We'll not let our country become a country only of gossip and G's and criticism, but we can show the way where we should go. So this time, we will force the agenda. When 3 people come here, we will share with them what we need to share with them because this is the type of nation building work that we need to do. Our country will not be saved by 6-year presidential terms or 12-year presidential terms. It's not possible. We need 40 to 50 years of consistent work, quality work, excellent leadership at all levels. And these things that I'm showing as values for nonprofit organizations also relate to the church. The church is a nonprofit organization. Churches, are nonprofit organizations. So this also relate to them. So if you're a pastor, you're anybody, and you're not doing these things, your membership, you'll start asking your pastor there now why these things are not in place. We will not rebuild Liberia by the 6-year term or 12-year term of the presidency. I've already argued. Whether Bwaka win the next presidency, Jowiya win, Cummins win, Ure win, whoever win, it's a waste of all of us time. There's not much that they will be able to actually do. They might try, but there's not much they can do. 2023 is already a lost cause because the setup is not ripe for things to happen. We need to focus on nation building. We need to direct our energies in ways that no matter who wins the election, if you deviate from the process of nation building, we will work around you. until the next president. And you come, you focus on nation building, we will work with you, right? But we can be here hoping to get the next good president, and we think the next good president will wave a magic wine. Even if Jesus Christ comes and Jesus Christ become president for Liberia, Jesus Christ is going to need a critical mass of qualified, competent people who understand what nation building is within their various expertise, to know that even if the environment is created and I'm not in government, I need to do my job. So thank you, everybody, for joining the Liberian Dream. It's been a great time. This is our second session in the series here, and we look forward to seeing you again in the next 2 weeks. Bye-bye.
We are Liberian.